I can't marry him, Ada said, collapsing into the comfy sofa in her friend Lara's living room. That small apartment in Lagos had become her safe spot from all the crazy stuff life was throwing at her. Ada had it rough. She lost her parents when she was little, and since then, life has been a hustle. Right now, she was all her younger sister Amara had. Amara was sick, real sick in the hospital, needing expensive treatment. Ada's job at a local eatery barely paid enough to cover the basics. Her boss, Mr. Okeke, was a tough nut, always on her case about taking time off to look after Amara. He would often say, "This is not a charity place. If you can't do the job, please leave." Then one day, Ada saw a job ad that looked like a big break. It was for an executive assistant position, paying 500,000 naira a month, way more than her current pay. She felt this job could change everything for her and her sister. She got herself ready for that interview. Borrowing a smart outfit from Lara, she looked at herself in the mirror, fixed her hair, and put just a bit of makeup. Gotta look sharp, Ada told herself, practicing her smile and her handshake. The interview day came, and Ada was there super early, feeling all jittery. To kill some time and calm her nerves, she popped into a nearby cafe. While sipping on a Coke and nibbling on a meat pie, she called up Lara to chat about how nervous she was. "I really need this job, Lara. It would fix everything," she said to her on the phone. Little did she know, Emeka, a rich guy who was sitting nearby, overheard the whole conversation. Emeka had his own big problems. His dad had just told him he needed to get married soon, or his sneaky cousin would take over the family business. Emeka wasn't ready to settle down, especially after a bad breakup with a gold digger. Later that day, when he went back to his office and saw Ada sitting amongst other job candidates, he remembered her from the cafe. He didn't plan it, but when he went downstairs and spotted her there, he told his HR personnel, "Make sure she gets to my interview round. I want to talk to her myself." When Ada entered Emeka's office, he was sitting there looking all serious. "Why do you want this job?" he asked her while eyeing her CV. Ada sighed deeply. "I just need a job that is stable, that pays well to take care of my responsibilities." Emeka understood where she was coming from, but straight up he told her, "Ada, to be honest, you are not really cut out for the executive assistant role." Seeing her face fall a bit, he quickly added, "But hold on, I might have another kind of job for you if you're open to something different." "What kind of job?" Ada asked, a bit confused. "How about this? I can sort out all your money problems right now. Marry me for a year and I'll give you 5 million naira. Emeka threw out there, watching how she would react. Ada's eyes popped wide open. "Marry you? Just like that?" "Yep," Emeka said coolly. "Purely business though. No love stuff. You pretend to be my wife so I can meet my family's demand, and I'll give you the cash you need for your responsibilities," he said in quotes. Ada was so shocked. She could barely speak. 5 million naira? She repeated, still trying to get her head around it. Seeing her hesitate, Emeka leaned in and said, "Let's make it 10 million. Ada was totally overwhelmed. She screamed, "Sir, what?" "Don't get too greedy," Emeka said jokingly, just to lighten up the mood. He scrambled something on a business card and handed it to her. "Think it over and let me know by tomorrow. I have a tight schedule, so please don't waste my time." As Ada walked out, trying to process everything, Emeka's friend Felix walked in and noticed Ada leaving. He turned to Emeka with a curious look. "Who is that? She doesn't look like one of your usual girls." Emeka sighed, sharing a bit about the contract marriage offer he had just proposed to Ada. Felix listened intensely, then shook his head, half amused. "So none of your many girlfriends could step up to be your fake wife?" Emeka just smiled and shook his head. "It's a bit more complicated, Felix, but she might just be desperate enough to go for it. Felix laughed and gave Emeka a pat on the back. Well, if it keeps the company in your hands, go for it. Just don't end up falling for her, man. After the wild meeting with Emeka, Ada went back to Lara's place, feeling all mixed up. She slumped onto the sofa and just let it out. I can't marry him. Lara looked confused. Marry who? What happened? Ada sighed and told her all about the job interview and how Emeka had thrown her a curveball with a marriage proposal. He wants me to marry him for 10 million naira to be his wife for a year, just for show, so he can satisfy his family. Lara's eye got wide. That's crazy. But Ada, this could be a lifesaver. How else are you going to come up with the cash for Amara's treatment? Maybe this is the help we've been waiting for so long. Ada knew Lara was right. They needed a miracle for her sister's huge medical bills, and this might just be it. She picked up her phone to call Emeka, but he didn't pick. So she texted him instead. It's Ada. I've thought over it and I accept your offer. The next day, they met at the cafe where everything began. Emeka had everything ready, including a contract. He explained the deal. You'll act like you're really married to me, come to event with me, and move into my house. As he passed the contract across to her, taking a deep breath, Ada read through it. This was really happening, a contract marriage, but this could save her sister. She signed her name quickly, ready to start a new chapter that could turn everything around. They got into this fake marriage and suddenly they were all over the blogs. Everyone was talking about Emeka's surprise marriage to Ada, a girl no one knew. They even did a fancy pre-wedding photo shoot that got everyone buzzing. Living with Emeka started off weird. He was always busy with work and Ada tried to keep the house in order. She wasn't used to just sitting pretty in a luxury apartment. She cooked and cleaned and made it feel like home. But things got complicated. Emeka noticed Ada taking secret calls and sneaking out. Thinking the worst, he hired a private investigator, only to find out she was just visiting her sister in the hospital. Emeka felt like a complete fool. He apologized to Ada and started helping her with her sister's medical bill, which really brought them closer. As time went by, Ada and Emeka's pretend marriage started to feel surprisingly real. Ada brought laughter and life into Emeka's big but unusually quiet house. She would sing and dance around the kitchen while cooking, which made Emeka laugh, a sound he realized he hadn't heard much around the house before Ada came. One evening, Emeka walked into the kitchen to find Ada trying to cook jollof rice. She had accidentally put in too much pepper, and they both ended up laughing about it. This rice is really going to burn our mouths, Ada said, giggling. Emeka joined in, and for a moment they forgot it was all supposed to be pretend. He helped her fix the dish, and their hands touched for a bit too long, making the air around them feel charged. They sat down to eat, teasing each other and talking more freely than ever. I bet you can handle the spice, Emeka teased, his eyes twinkling. They weren't just talking about the food, but also about the growing tension between them. One afternoon, Emeka decided to rearrange the living room furniture, which disrupted Ada's favorite cozy setup. What are you doing? Ada laughed as she walked in. Thought I'll change this up, Emeka grinned back. Their light argument over the new layout quickly turned into a playful tussle, tossing cushions at each other. As they caught their breath, laughing on the sofa, Ada shook her head and said, "You're such a troublemaker." Emeka replied with a cheeky smile, "I gotta keep you on your toes, right?" Their little moments kept building up. Looks, touches, and smiles that weren't part of their deal. They went to a fancy event together, and while they were acting perfectly as a couple for the crowd, the connection between them was becoming real. After the event, Emeka and Ada stood on the balcony looking out over Lagos' glowing lights. The air between them felt different, thicker somehow. "You're not what I expected," Emeka said in a low voice. Something was flickering in his eyes. "You too," Ada responded, inching closer. She had thought the whole thing was just going to be about sticking to the contract, but now it was feeling like a whole lot more. They both knew they were stepping over lines they hadn't intended to. Emeka reached for her hands, and instead of pulling away, Ada moved even closer. They looked into each other's eyes, and in that moment, all the pretending melted away. It was just them, feeling something deeper than they had planned. What had started as a pretend marriage was turning real. They needed to figure out if this could be a true future together, way beyond any contract. One evening, caught up in all these new feelings, Emeka couldn't keep his inside any longer. They were out on the balcony again, the Lagos night sparkling below them. He held Ada's hand tightly. "I thought this was just going to be a real simple deal, but I was wrong, Ada. I've fallen for you. Can we make this real?" Ada's heart raced as she met his gaze. "Yes, Emeka, let's make it real." So they decided to do it all over again, but this time for real love, not just a deal. They had a small, sincere ceremony to renew their vows, promising to stick by each other not because of some arrangement, but because they truly wanted to. What started as a fake setup to resolve problems turned into a genuine love story right in the bustling heart of our very own Lagos. Thank you so much for joining me at Tales by Chinnie. Please like, share, and subscribe. I really love you all. Bye!